Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. My name is Scott Reich, and this is Crime Talk. Today is Tuesday, June 21st, 2022. Let's take a quick preview of the docket before we open the docket. First, a big, huge mistake in Uvalde. This is why we have alternate jurors. An update on the Petito Laundrie civil litigation. A list your hometown doesn't want to be on. And then finally, our dumb criminal of the day. Let's talk about it. All right, aficionados, Uvalde. That's the Spanish pronunciation. That's right. I've got this from reliable sources. It's pronounced Uvalde. Well, a review of law enforcement transcripts and security cam footage is raising a few more questions about the police response at the Robb Elementary School shooting in Uvalde, Texas last month. Now, the review shows multiple officers in the hallway of the elementary school after Salvador Ramos had entered the classrooms at 111 and 112 and began shooting. The officers waited 77 minutes for an order to enter the classroom that never came. The transcripts reveal that the officers had the tools needed to breach the doors to the classrooms that might not have been locked. A Border Patrol tactical team eventually entered and killed the gunman. There is now confusion over who was in charge during the massacre, and the Texas state officials unequivocally said that Uvalde School District Police Chief Peter Arredondo, who was sworn into a city council seat shortly after the massacre, was in charge, although Arredondo said in subsequent interviews he was not. Sounds like the perfect politician, doesn't he? He had rushed to the school and was in the hallway when he called the city's dispatch unit at 11:40 a.m. to give an update. Arredondo told dispatchers, "We don't have enough firepower right now to confront the gunman, who was armed with an AR-15. He said the officers in school had only pistols, although at least two officers were seen carrying rifles on the video when the chief called dispatch. Now, Arredondo also asked for someone to bring him a radio, which he'd left behind because he left the radio. He had no idea that the children inside the classroom were calling 911 begging for help. One officer's daughter was inside. Another officer had received a call from his wife, a teacher, who told him that she was bleeding to death. 20 minutes after the shooting started, a state special agent entered the hallway and asked if there were any children inside. If there is, then they need to just go in, he said. It is unknown at that time, came the reply from an officer, either from the Uvalde city or the school district. You all don't know if there's kids in there. The state agent asked, if there were kids in there, we need to go in there. Whoever's in charge will determine that, the officer replied. The special agent was stunned. He pointed out children in other classrooms who needed to be evacuated. Well, there's kids over here, he said, so I'm getting kids out. According to this transcript, Arredondo tried to talk with Ramos at 12:38 p.m., 65 minutes after he had entered the classroom, but received no reply. At 12:46, he told SWAT they could breach the classroom if they were ready, and they did so 4 minutes later. Other key findings from the newly released records show: 1. No security footage from inside the school showed police officers attempting to open the doors to classrooms 111 and 112. Arredondo said that he tried to open one door and another group of officers tried to open another, but that door was reinforced and impenetrable. Within the first minutes of the law enforcement response, an officer said the Halligan, a fire tool that is also sometimes spelled hooligan, was on site. It wasn't brought into the school until an hour after the first officers entered the building. Authorities didn't use it and instead waited for keys. Officers had access to 4 ballistic shields inside the school during the standoff with the gunman. Now, the Texas Department of Public Safety head, a guy by the name of Steve McGraw, slammed police response on the May 24th massacre as an abject failure, and that there had been enough cops at the scene to stop the gunman just 3 minutes into the shooting. McCraw has become the latest to lay blame on the botched response on district police and Chief Arredondo, who reportedly commanded the cops on the scene to stay put and not confront the gunman. McCraw said the district chief decided to place the lives of his officers before the lives of the children. The officers had weapons, the children had none. The officers had body armor, the children had none. Huge, huge mistakes made. Arredondo, really, just, you sound like the classic politician. Not my fault, no acceptance of responsibility. You know, one thing I learned when I was in the Marine Corps was when you're in charge, you're ultimately responsible for what your unit does or fails to do. His unit failed. He needs to resign in disgrace from whatever position he holds and be remembered always for the guy that completely botched the Uvalde school massacre. All right. Remember to like the video if you do, subscribe if you have not done so already. Leave me a comment, hit that bell so that you get notifications of when we go live or put up a new video. Remember, tonight is Tuesday. That means we'll be going live 6 p.m. Mountain Time tonight. Today, an example of why we have alternate jurors, but it doesn't really make sense what the judge is doing here. So by the end of court last Friday, the Los Angeles County jury had come to an agreement on whether Bill Cosby had sexually assaulted the plaintiff, Judy Huth, at the Playboy Mansion when she was 16, way back in 1975, and whether Ms. Huth deserved any compensation in the form of damages. Well, apparently the jury had answered 8 of the 9 questions on the verdict form. The last question asks whether Cosby acted in a way that should require punitive damages. Well, Judge Craig Carlin, who had promised one juror when she agreed to serve that she could leave after Friday for a prior commitment, decided over the objections of Cosby's attorneys to accept and read the verdict on the question the jury had already answered. But the deputies at the courthouse in Santa Monica appeared and required him to clear the courtroom because there is no budget for deputies' overtime. So Judge Carlin said he would not go back on his word regarding the juror who needed to be excused after Friday. So because the juror will not be required to return today, the remaining jurors will have to begin again with the alternate juror in her place. Now, on Monday, Cosby lawyer Jennifer Bogine moved for a mistrial because of a photo taken by a member of Cosby's team that showed a juror standing in a close proximity to a Cosby accuser who had been sitting in the audience and watching the trial. Carlin said the photo didn't indicate any conversation had happened and quickly dismissed the mistrial motion. The accuser, Lily Bernard, denied speaking to any juror, saying, "I would never do anything to jeopardize this case. I didn't even look at them," referring to the people in the courtroom. The jurors continued deliberations following the 2-week-long trial. So remember, ladies and gentlemen, if you get jury duty and you are selected to be the alternate or the second alternate, and yes, those 12 lucky jurors are able to go back there and deliberate the fate of an individual and decide whether facts occurred or whether they did not, just remember, as an alternate or as a second alternate, that you could still be called, even if the attorneys were willing to take the verdict based upon a fewer number of jurors. In this case, the judge, you think he'd want to wrap it up and get things done, but he said, no, now they have to start all over again and they have to begin their deliberations like they had never happened before. I guess it's better than a mistrial, because if it was a mistrial, then you'd have to start all over again with all the evidence. All right, remember, you can listen to Crime Talk anytime when you're on the go by listening to any of your favorite podcasting apps. That includes Audible, iHeart, Apple, and Spotify. Just search Crime Talk with Scott Reich. All right, a quick update on the Petito Laundrie civil case. So, as you may recall, the Petito family has sued the Laundrie family, basically alleging that they are somehow responsible for the death of their daughter based upon their son's actions. Kind of a stretch legally, and I'll explain more. A judge by the name of Hunter Carroll will hear arguments from both sides after attorneys for Chris and Roberta Laundrie submitted a response to a motion to dismiss the lawsuit that was filed by the Petitos, Joe Petito and Nicole Smith. Now, Petito and Schmidt have filed the lawsuit on the grounds of intentional infliction of emotional distress, claiming that the Laundries were aware Brian had murdered their daughter and chose not to act. The lawsuit also includes claims that Chris and Roberta sought to help their son flee the country and blocked Schmidt on her phone and Facebook page. 5 things to know about this lawsuit. Okay, first, the Petito family claims they have evidence that Chris and Roberta Laundrie were told by their son of Petito's murder on or around August 28th of 2021. The Laundries have chosen to remain silent. Chris and Roberta were never charged by authorities during the FBI investigation into Gabby Petito's death. Their attorney, Steve Bertolino, has stated that his clients cooperated with law enforcement and that their choice to remain silent to the public, including the Petito family, is protected under the United States Constitution. The initial witness list has been made public, which gives a glimpse into the strategy of the lawsuit. The witness list includes Gabby Petito's biological parents, step-parents, Chris and Roberta Laundrie, and representatives from the FBI and the Northport Police Department. Judge Carroll has scheduled a jury trial in August of 2023. However, that does not mean it is guaranteed to happen. A decision on whether to grant the dismissal or proceed to trial is expected to be released by Judge Carroll at some point in the summer. Camera access will be permitted in the courtroom, and camera access is permitted for Wednesday's hearing and throughout the trial. The hearing is scheduled for 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will try to bring it to you. Now, I think this is going to be a tough case for the Petito family to prevail upon. Yes, you may not like the way the Laundries did what they did. However, I get it. You're upset. You're angry. But you have a right to obtain an attorney. You don't have to cooperate with an investigation. I don't think it rises to the level of a civil suit. Sorry, probably get some flack on that, but that's just the way it is. There's a lot of injustice in the world, ladies and gentlemen. And if you're looking for justice, going to the courtroom isn't the place to go. Please go to crimetalksearch.com, sign up for a background subscription service. You'll be happy you did. If there's anyone out there you were ever curious about what was in their background, now is the time to do it. If you're going to get involved with somebody, now is the time to do it. When you go to crimetalksearch.com, you put in the name, literally millions of public records are searched, and a report is generated. And it's going to give you a report. If they have multiple social media accounts, you're going to find it. If they have multiple phone numbers, multiple email addresses, it's going to be found. And more importantly, you're going to get information regarding criminal history. Hopefully the person you're searching has none whatsoever. But if it's there, it's going to be found. You're going to get everything you'd want to know, whether you're going into business or whether you're going into a personal relationship. You're going to be able to find out the information you want to know. So go to crimetalksearch.com, sign up today. You'll be happy you did. Next on the docket, a list that your hometown doesn't want to be on. Okay, 5 major U.S. cities are currently on pace to beat their homicide totals from last year, continuing a violent trend that started back in 2020. Now, those cities are, can you guess? Number 1, Los Angeles. Yes. Number 2, Washington, D.C. 3rd, Baltimore. 4th, Milwaukee. And 5, Atlanta. All 5 cities are on track to outpace their numbers for 2021 halfway through this year. What can you say? You know, at least you got to admit, these politicians are doing a great job. They're running the city. Whatever they're doing, they just need to keep doing it, right? Well, Milwaukee seen the largest spike of the group. Wisconsin's largest city has recorded 96 homicides as of June 17th, compared to 77 at this time a year ago, a 24.7% increase. The nation's capital has been another victim of the trend in 2022, recording 93 homicides as of June 17th compared to 82. At this point a year ago, a 13.4% increase. Experts now warn that crime tends to surge in the summer, so it's only going to get even more exciting, and those numbers are going to be even higher. I can hardly wait, giving little hope for a slowdown of crime for sure. Now, debate on the cause of the recent spike in crime has raged since 2020, with many experts blaming the pandemic and accompanying closures, restrictions, and isolation for spike in crime. Others have pointed to the Ferguson effect, or more recently, the Minneapolis effect, for the increase which resulted in less active policing during times of increased crime. Okay, as a practicing criminal defense attorney, I've said this once and I'll say it again. There's the 10% rule. Learned about this in the military. You're going to spend 90% of your time on 10% of the knuckleheads that can't follow the rules, that don't want to be good members of society. And guess what? If they can get away with what they're doing, they're going to get away with what they're doing by doing more of it. It's funny how that works. And I should know, I've represented a lot of people over the years that continue to do what they do. So I'm telling you, a little inside baseball knowledge here, ladies and gentlemen. Giving everybody a big hug is not going to solve your problems, okay? Usually involves a swift kick in the butt. Just saying. And finally today, since we're all pepped up, how about our dumb criminal of the day? The Walton County Sheriff's Office said deputies were called early Saturday morning to a home in a gated community called Watercolor near Seaside, Florida, for a noise complaint. Upon arrival, most of the partygoers had fled the scene, but videos on Snapchat, Instagram, and other social media platforms show the teenagers breaking into the $8 million home and throwing a massive house party. The sheriff's office warned that Snapchat is not private and can be subpoenaed. Photos and videos collected from the rager include a male taking a selfie with rings he found in the home, a homemade boxing match complete with boxing gloves, and males smoking in the theater room. The sheriff's office is telling the public to not make excuses for those teenagers, and that if you know anyone in the photos, please come forward. That's dumb. You know who you are, guys. They're going to come get you. All right, let's go ahead and close the docket for today. I hope you enjoyed the show, and please join us tonight at 6 p.m. Mountain Time when we go live. I think you're going to enjoy it. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you next time on Crime Talk.